For the last 5 years, I have not liked any job that I've worked. And these were for reasons ranging from incompetent leaders, incompetent co-workers, to excessive micromanagement, and just a lot of things along the line that falls under one word that I would like to call misalignment. I've taken all of these jobs to fill a need, whether that be most recently paying off my debt, providing for my basic necessities, rent, food, water, all of that. But it always felt like I just needed something, and I would leave one job and I need another one. So I have to find another one. And I kept going to different jobs that I didn't like. And it would be bad enough if it was just one industry, but I've worked across many different industries. I've worked in hotels, restaurants, sustainability company, recruiting, accounting, insurance, and even home care. And none of them have fit the mold as to what I thought a job should feel like for me, right? And I've asked myself every question along these variation lines. The last job that I worked, that I liked, what was it like? And I literally could not date back any time within the past year. That job was when I was in undergrad. Yep. And I also asked myself and thought about what characteristics in these jobs that I have worked over the years that I haven't liked, what are the main things happening there that I didn't like, and which I just mentioned quite a few of them. But after thinking about all of these things and thinking back to when I was unemployed for a year and a half, which was supposed to be a sabbatical where I was resting, instead it was the most anxious and depressing time I've ever had. And it's because I didn't have options. I needed money to pay my debt, I needed money to pay my bills, and I didn't have any money. And so I was desperate again to find another job, which obviously I went into something that I didn't like again. And I've mentioned before how much desperation never brings anything good. But as I grow older, I'm realizing it even more. And sometimes I say these things and it's because I know it. But when I think back on certain experiences that I've had, I'm like, man, I'm not even just saying this. This is actually something that I've lived through and experienced, and I know deep down. But I realize that the way that I work, I always show up 130% to my jobs. And that's great because you should do great work. You should do excellent work at that. And a majority of my peers are doing the opposite of that. I go in, I follow the rules, I'm expecting everything to be perfect. They're like not caring about the rules, not doing anything, and still seemingly getting by. And I realize the difference between my approach and theirs. It's not that some of them don't care, because maybe they started off caring, who knows. And I realized that I was just giving this job a wrongful place in my life. Instead of seeing these jobs as a tool and using this tool to create leverage for myself, to create a financial plan for myself, to create stability for myself. And in many instances, it was not easy to do that, obviously, because I mentioned having my debt and just not having jobs that were paying enough for me to really even create a breathing room. But since I've become a lot more intentional about it and more focused on it, and to be honest, I probably could have found a breathing room in those previous roles, but because I wasn't intentional, that's why I wouldn't see it, because you're going to see what you pay attention to. But now, since I've become intentional, it's just like, this is the reason. Yes, these things are happening in a job that are outside of my control. I don't control the leaders, I don't control who they employ. And these things are happening that I don't like, but also, this is a tool. And so if I'm treating it this way, then I'm going to show up different. I'm still going to do my best. I'm still going to do what I need to do to get through my days, but it's not going to take up so much mental space. These days, I realize that I'm just kind of detaching myself out throughout my days just to get by, which I talked about in a previous video about preparing so much for the future that we're not living right now. But I literally have to detach through my days to just get through so that it doesn't consume me. Because I am so consumed by outcomes just because I know I'm giving my best, when that's not the role that this should have in my life in the first place. I saw a video today where this creator was talking about, instead of quiet quitting, you do cognitive quitting, which means you're not allowing your job to take up too much mental space in your head. And it's challenging, especially in the type of work that I'm doing right now. But also, the reason why across these different industries and these different roles, I have just been allowing everything to consume me is because I'm bringing this same style through every single job. It's me. I am going there with my energy. I'm giving my best. And so I'm expecting that feedback or that reciprocation, which is definitely not happening. And I really had to sit down with myself, and I thought, man, out of every job that I've worked, this current one is the one that I've approached the most strategic in terms of the space that it takes up in my life. And yes, it's still a process for me, because even today I had an off day because I was just so mentally overloaded, overstimulated, and so forth. But it's just that I've seen how much I have literally quit all of the jobs that I didn't like because of whatever reason I didn't like them. And I still ended up in something I didn't like because I didn't create a foundation for me to fall on so I could take the time to find something more aligned. And so now, as I'm in this season, I'm realizing that yes, we want money to get ourselves to the next level, which is why exactly you have to be intentional about delayed gratification and making sure you have a floor, which by floor, I'm talking about your emergency fund, so that you can actually take some time to find something that is more aligned with your style of work, and to be patient with yourself to find that. And while you are looking that though, you still have to be intentional about the way that you're showing up. The goal is to have a dream experience that works with me, but it's also, even the dream experience can be polluted if I'm still not approaching it the right way. And so this is something that for me, I'm realizing that I have to let things stay in the place that it needs to stay, and to not overcomplicate it. And this is very challenging for me because I am working the only way that I know how to work. But I'm realizing that it keeps spinning the cycle of just not, it's not alignment. It's not in alignment. And because of the fact that I'm often in these spaces where my leaders are realizing that I do great, excellent work, there's so much responsibilities, there's so much expectations, and my peers feel it too. So then they lax because they're expecting me to pull the weight. And I just had to let some things fall. I just had to let some expectations not be met, and I'm okay with it. And it's challenging because when I sit down and I think about it, it's just for me like, am I accepting mediocrity from myself? And it's definitely not. It's definitely not accepting mediocrity from myself. But it's also like when I realize that I'm over functioning in a space that is just requiring way too much from me, so that I don't have the energy needed to function in my regular basic daily life, I just have to pull back. And that's something that I'm learning in this season of my life. But because I am on my journey to create options for myself, that's the reason why I was able to finally see it. Because I have been this way from I started working my first job. I wasn't able to connect the dots until now. So I know that I'm not the only one going through this, and I know a lot of people don't even know the first step to take to even end the cycle. I was one of those people. I was that person for at least the last 5 years, and it shifted for me just going to rock bottom. If you're not new here, you hear me talk about this so many times. But if you're new here, I've been to the bottom of the rock, bottom, and that just shifted everything in me to be a lot more intentional about my financial learning and growing. And so I didn't know where to start, and thankfully I got my experiences that pushed me into gear, and I was able to realize that this is not going to end unless I end it. And even though I made a decision, I still have to give things the time to play out, but it's a very intentional journey for me. And I just want you to know that the moment you decide to change your life is the moment your life is going to change. And even though you're still learning about yourself every single day in the process, you're becoming closer to the person that you want to be. And it's hard, and you don't feel like you're becoming that person, because small steps every day compound. But because it's going so slow, you think it's not changing, but I promise you it is changing. And you just have to give it some time and give it some intentionality. And most importantly, you have to give it your decision and your dedication. So for that person who just wants to start but doesn't know how, I suggest you start with a community. Because if it's not something that's natural to you, it's easy to fall back, it's easy to lapse, it's easy to just fall off the horse because you don't know what you're doing and you don't have anybody in your corner pushing you to get there. And so I created my 30-day reset with you in mind, so that you can have a supportive community that provides structure and accountability to help you to get to these goals. And I say this from the bottom of my heart. I wish you well on this journey, because I know it's not easy, and there's so much nuance to it, but it's yours. And even though I come on here and I share my experiences, they are not yours. And I hope everybody who needs this in their life gets it, right? So if you watch this video and you found it informative, you found it speaking to you, it's probably speaking to somebody else too. So you can share the video with them so that they can either get the reset or get the message. Either one is a thumbs up from me. The link to the reset will be in the description below, so you can check that out. And yeah, if you're new here, welcome. If you have been watching my channel and you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Drop a comment below and let me know what you're realizing about yourself on this journey. I'm not even going to ask you if you like your job, because a lot of times people come on the internet and they talk about, not liking your job. And I'm realizing that a lot of people don't. But more than riding that horse of talking about what we don't like, I strongly believe doing something to change your life is way more effective and powerful. And so that's what we're on. And because we already know we don't like the situation, but we want to do something about it. So comment below and tell me, what are you learning about yourself on this journey of just trying to change your life. The community would love to learn and grow from that. And give the video a thumbs up to show that you liked it. You can also follow me on all social media platforms at Khrista-Lee, just like I am here. And yeah, and that's TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And I will see you in the next video tomorrow. Okay, let's go make some mistakes. Bye.